guys, welcome back. So today we got 2015 Genesis G80. It's a 5 liter. So we got two problems with this vehicle. The first one is the multifunction switch. I'm gonna be replacing this because the customer complaint is when he's driving on the night, let's say an auto, this guy will drop out, like, you know, it will changes like this. And then when I was checking for data, I was driving, it only happens to me once when I was activating the turn signal to the left, and that's when it happens. There's a dropout on the signal from the switch, right? So we're gonna be replacing this multifunction switch, and next will be the check engine light. So this guy came, I think, 3 times already with this same problem with the purge valve, incorrect purge flow. And during those times we just got the same code, right? And when it got to me, I guess I got lucky. I got different code for a fuel tank pressure sensor code. So I was thinking that those two are related, because if there's no input from the ECM, that, you know, he doesn't know the pressure in the tank itself, when it's doing its evap test, it's gonna throw a code, it's gonna blame other components that there's something going on. So well, on that next replacement, we're gonna replace our fuel pressure sensor in the tank. We're just gonna remove the rear seat, but I'm just gonna show you on checking those. So I'm just gonna go to our data for the fuel tank pressure sensor, and as per the service information, like when trying to raise the RPM, you should see changes. So let me grab that. Let me start this vehicle, and then let's go to the fuel tank pressure. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna grab the voltage. Where's that guy? It's not there. Fuel well, no, that's not the one. Fuel tank pressure. Okay, just gonna graph that, and as per the service information, that once I raise the RPM, there should be some changes on that pressure itself. As you can see there's nothing. And also what we can do also is, if you have a smoke machine, we can plug in that smoke machine onto our purge valve, and then we're gonna close our vent valve, and we should see a rising pressure on our data here. So I'm gonna show that to you guys later, but first we're gonna do our multifunction switch assembly replacement. Okay, so on these models, since we're removing the multifunction switch, so we're gonna remove our steering wheel, and we're gonna remove our driver's side airbag. So make sure you remove our negative cable, right? And to remove this airbag module here, driver's side, there's a hole. There's a hole here at the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check this. Yeah, let me just double check this. Okay, so I'm gonna poke that hole just to release the tab, right? And then I'm just gonna show you once I got this steering wheel out. So we usually use a punch, right? So I'm just gonna poke that. Okay, you heard that it clicks. Next will be So we're just gonna adjust the steering column, and we need to access the back side of the steering wheel. So we're just gonna, easiest way is to remove the panel at the steering column. You can just use a flat screwdriver, right? Then you turn this guy here at that's 12 o'clock, right? So something like that. And then there's gonna be at the back a slot that you can use a flat screwdriver to pry the spring, or the locking spring on it. So most of the Hyundais with this new style of mounting, it's all the same procedure. So let me just look for that hole. Yeah. Once I get this out, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, that's out. Right, I can put my finger. Same thing on the other side. Just have to move it like that. Right. Okay, so that's out. Go back. Okay, so now we're just gonna be releasing this tab. Turn your thing, and then there's just gonna be a release, a plastic mounting for the wires for the airbag. Okay, that's out. Okay, so we got this ground here we're gonna remove, and this connectors here, so you just have to pop out the orange, and then use a flat screwdriver. Okay, now what they usually say is, don't, when you rest this piece, don't do it like that, because if something happens, it will, you know, bounce from the ground. So always stay it like this. That's what they said, so I'm just following it and put it in a safe place. So next is, we're gonna be removing one of the main, there's a main connector here, right? Let's just remove that. And then we're gonna remove our mounting bolt for the steering wheel. So I think that's 21 mm or 22. Let me just see. Okay, that's 22. Put that aside. Okay, so usually I always mark this, at least so that that's where I'm gonna put it back. If you're not sure, that's how you're gonna do it too. But on this guy here, let me just remove this. There's some dots already in there, so I'm just gonna, you know, put it in my brain, so that when I'm gonna put everything back together, that's where I'm gonna put it back. So now we're gonna remove the steering wheel. And I'll just put this aside. And as much as possible, that when you're trying to remove everything, that your clock spring stays in the same, right? And then we're just gonna remove our screws here on our lower panel for the steering column. and there's one at the bottom. Okay, that's out. I'm just gonna pull this down. Okay. Next is we're gonna remove this connector for our steering. What do you call that? Multifunction switch. And then for our clock spring. All right. So. And then it's just a plastic hook for the clock spring. So you just push it down and then lightly, and while you're pulling the clock spring, right? Same thing on the top one. There's only one on top one. Okay. So that's out. And there's still connector. So there's still connector on one. Okay. And leave it aside. Now we have space for our multifunction switch. So we're gonna remove this. There's only 2 screws for that. Come on. Okay. Just take out your screw. This is our old multifunction switch, and our new one is here. Every time you do I make it a habit. Every time I replace a component, I just double check that they have the same pins on the new ones, right? There's no bent pins on the new one, and the connector, the harness itself, that there's nothing suspicious there, right? Just to cover your bases. So we're just gonna put this in. Put our screws. Okay. Now our clock spring. So I just have to pop this in. Let's put this guy here on the side. And then okay, that should line up. There's this guy here. Okay. Okay. Everything clicks. So I'm just gonna put this panel back on. Okay, I can close this guy here. Okay, so now before I put everything back together, I forgot to mention, so this is the guy where you release the tab first, right, on the bottom of the steering wheel. And next is, these are the, okay, let me put the light here. Is it too bright? Okay, that's good enough. These are the holes on each side that you're gonna use your flat screwdriver, that whatever can fit, and you're gonna start, you know, prying it out like that. Because I'm gonna show you the airbag side. So the airbag side, this guy, this is where you're prying. So you're just gonna, you just want it to release it out, right? Because there's a lock in there. So yeah, so I'm just gonna put everything back together and we'll double check our functions on the new assembly. Okay, so I put everything back together. We'll just check all our components. So our horn works, and then let's just make sure that no warning lights there, right? No airbag or anything. And then just gonna check our lights, so everything works there. Turn signal, right? High beam. Our wiper blades, right? So that's it. So that's how you place the multifunction switch on the Genesis, or I think any newer Hondas, especially with this type of airbag, right? And how you release this airbag module. So next is I'm gonna remove the seat so that it's, you can see what's underneath there when we replace our fuel tank pressure sensor. Alright guys, so we're now on the back seat. So to remove that cushion on the rear seat, there's just one bolt on each side. Just gonna remove that 12mm socket, and we just have, there's a clip here, you just have to pull it up, the cushion, and you can remove it, right? So now there's two fuel pressure tank sensor on this vehicle, right? So I'm just gonna remove this. Okay. So we're now here on our tank pressure sensor. So I'm gonna go to our actuation test or active test, and then I'm gonna run our smoke machine because I hooked it up already, and then I'm gonna close the vent valve and we're gonna monitor the pressure sensor, the data, right? So let me just go there first. Fuel tank pressure and the voltage, fuel tank pressure voltage. Okay, so I'm gonna run the smoke machine and then we'll close the canister close valve. Okay, so the smoke machine is running right now. Let me just grab that data for the canister close valve. Where's that guy? Canister close valve. Okay, so as you can see on our data, let me graph it. The bottom one, it says still off, and this is our pressure sensor, voltage, and the pressure itself. So I'm gonna close the canister close valve. I'm gonna start. You see that it turns on, right? But there's no changes at all, right? So one way to check that maybe it's our sensor problem or our, what do you call that, our wiring problem, is to simply unplug the connector. So when we unplug this, the voltage should go up because it's open circuit. So that's how the circuit works. So let me unplug this guy here. And you see there, on the voltage side and the pressure side, it went up, right? 5 volts. So I know that my PCM is working fine. My wiring signal and whatever in the wiring circuit is working fine. So now we're just gonna put the new new sensor and we'll do a retest again. That bracket, and I'm just gonna pry this. Okay, so I just pry that. That's our old sensor. It looks like there's glue in here. There's some sticky fluid or a glue. I don't know why. So this is our new sensor here. Okay. Same thing. Just double check your pins. Now we're just gonna transfer this hose here. This back in. Okay. Now I can put this guy here. Okay. Just click that. Now we're gonna put our bracket on. Why? Let me remove this guy. I think it's easier. Here. Okay, so now we're gonna run the same test. I'm gonna turn on our smoke test, smoke machine, and then we're gonna see our pressure, right? So okay, so smoke machine is on. And what we're gonna do is, let's try closing this vent valve. Turns on. And then we'll just wait. There's some changes there. Okay guys, so I know there's something going on because our fuel tank pressure sensor is not working properly, right? It's not reading because I tried to apply vacuum, it's still not reading. So I just lift up the vehicle and I just see there's a lot of smoke there, as you can see there. So we got a leak, a big leak. And then, as you see there, I'm just gonna zoom in this. as you can see there, someone didn't plug yet. So let me plug that in and we'll see. Okay guys, so I just plugged in that vent hose. I think what happened there is, I think they did some recall on this vehicle, and I think one of the brake lines, you have to replace it, and you have to remove all those rear cross member, the fuel tank, and maybe they forgot to plug that in. So I'm gonna turn on our machine. Our canister shut-off valve still on, so right now that should build pressure. As you can see there, I just shut it off. I'm gonna turn it on again, and that should rise. And once the ECM see that there's so much pressure, automatically the canister shut-off valve will turn off. So let me turn on the machine first. So right now the machine is on. As you can see there, our pressure is rising, the voltage is rising. So I guess this guy, I think I was assuming that there's no leak, because I thought they already checked the leak for this vehicle, and I think for me maybe it doesn't need that sensor that we replaced, just that there's a leak in the system. So the computer doesn't know to calculate that when the computer is doing an evap test, and it's not holding vacuum, right? So that's why it's just throwing that incorrect purge flow code. So as I can see right now that, you know, it's going up, which is good. And also I noticed that when I was just checking our smoke machine dial, like the gauge, this guy here was just bouncing around. So I know there's something going on, because I know if, let's say, the system is sealed, that needle should just stay there, right? So that's why I said, you know what, let me double check again and see if there's a, what do you call that, a leak on the system. So let's just monitor this guy here. So that's it guys. I think that next time maybe let's not assume, even though it came from another tech or from another shop, like, you know, let's always use our process on diagnosing a problem, like start from zero. And maybe this vehicle was fixed before if we just did that, right? And I'm just gonna let my advisor know that, you know, I found this problem that it's causing this evap codes, that is due to that vent hose was not plugged in, so the system was leaking. So that's it guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Thank you for watching.